These gases are intensely heated and they move with fearful velocity. They tear off great masses of stone, which the resultant energy disturbances, pressure, gas, and friction redden with heat. The mixture of gases from the decomposed water is in large amount, is burning and exploding, and in this fiery furnace amid such convulsions as has been described, the adjacent earth substance is fused, and even clay is melted and carried on with the fiery blast. Finally, the current reaches the earth's surface through the funnel passage, the apex of which is a volcano. The blast described, a volcanic eruption. One thing is still obscure in my mind, I said. You assert that the reaction which follows the contact of the flowing water and metallic bases in the crevices below us liberates the explosive gases and also volumes of vapor of water. These gases rush, you say, and produce a volcanic eruption in a distant part of the crust of the earth. I cannot understand why they do not rush backward as well and produce another eruption in Kentucky. Surely the pressure of a gas in confinement is the same in all directions, is it not? Yes, he replied, but the conditions in the different directions are dissimilar. In the direction of the Kentucky cavern, the passage is tortuous and often contracts to a narrow crevice. In one place near the cavern's mouth, as you will remember, we had to dive beneath the surface of a stream of water. That stratum of water has effectively closed the exit from the earth, as the stopper prevents water escaping from a bottle. Between the point we now occupy and that water stopper rest thousands of miles of quiescent air. The inertia of 1,000 miles of air is great beyond your comprehension. To move that column of air by pushing against this end of it, and thus shoving it instantly out of the other end, would require greater force than would burst the 150 miles of inelastic stone above us. Then the friction of the sides is another thing that prevents its accomplishment. With a gradually applied pressure, would in time overcome both the inertia of the air and the friction of the stone passages. It would take a supply of energy greater than you could imagine to start into motion the elastic mass that stands as solid and immovable as a sentinel of adamant between the cavern you entered and the spot we now occupy. Time and energy combined would be able to accomplish the result, but not under present conditions. In the other direction, a broad open channel reaches directly to and connects with the volcanic shaft. Through this channel the air is in motion, moving towards the extinct crater, being supplied from another surface orifice. The gases liberated in the manner I have described naturally flow the line of least resistance. They turn at once away from the inert mass of air that rests behind us and moves with increasing velocity towards the volcanic exit. Before the pressure that might be exerted towards the Kentucky cavern would have more than compressed the intervening column of air enough to raise the water of a well from its usual level to the surface of the earth. The velocity in the other direction would have augmented prodigiously, and with its increasing rapidity, a suction would flow more than sufficient to consume the increasingly abundant gases from behind. Volcanoes are therefore local, and the interior of the earth is not a molten mass, as I have been taught, I exclaimed. He answered, if men were far along in their thought journey, for the evolution of the mental side of man is a journey in the world of thought, they would avoid such theories of that which ascribes a molten interior to the earth. Volcanoes are superficial. They are, as a rule, when activity, but little blisters or excoriations upon the surface of the earth, although their underground connections may be extensive. Some of them are in a continual fret with frequent eruptions. Others, like the one under consideration, awaken only after great periods of time. The entire surface of this globe has been or will be subject to volcanic action. The phenomenon is one of the steps in the world-making, matter-leveling process. When the depositive substances that I have indicated, and of which much of the earth's interior is composed, the bases of salt, potash, and lime and clay is exhausted, there will be no further volcanic action from this cause, and in some places this deposit has already disappeared, or is covered deeply by layers of earth that serve as a protection. Is water then the universal cause of volcanoes? Water and air together cause most of them. The action of water and its vapor produces from metallic space dust, limestone, and clay salt, potash, and salt salts. This perfectly rational natural action must continue as long as there are water above and free elementary bases in contact with the earth's bubbles. Volcanoes, earthquakes, geysers, mud springs, and hot springs are all natural result of that reaction. Mountains are thereby forming by upheavals from beneath, and the corresponding surface valleys are consequently filling up, either by the slow deposit of the matter from the saline water of hot springs, or by the sudden eruption of a new or presumably extinct volcano. What would happen if a crevice in the bottom of the ocean should conduct the waters of the ocean into a deposit of metallic bases? That often occurs, was the reply. A volcanic wave results, and a volcano may thus rise from the ocean's depths. Is there any danger to the earth itself? May it not be riven into fragments from such a convulsion? I hesitatingly questioned. No. While the configuration of continents is continually being altered, each disturbance must be practically superficial and of limited area. But I persisted. The rigid solid earth may be blown to fragments. In such convulsions, a result like that seems not impossible. You argue from an erroneous hypothesis. The earth is neither rigid nor solid. True, I answered. If it were solid, I could not be 100 miles beneath its surface in conversations with another being. But there cannot be many such cavities as that which we are now traversing, and they cannot surely extend entirely through its mass. The great weight of the superincumbent material must crush together the strongest materials if a globe as large as our earth were extensively honeycombed in this manner. Quite the contrary, he replied. And here let me for the first time enlighten you as to the interior structure of the terrestrial globe. The earth-forming principle consists of an invisible sphere of energy that, spinning through a space, supports the space dust, which collects on it as dust on a bubble. By gradual accumulation of substance on that sphere, a hollow ball has resulted, on the outer surface of which you have hitherto dwelt. The crust of the earth is comparatively thin, not more than 800 miles in average thickness, and is held in position by the central sphere of energy that now exists at a distance about 700 miles beneath the ocean level. The force inherent to this sphere manifests itself upon the matter which it supports on both sides, rendering matter the lighter the nearer it lies to the center sphere. In other words, let me say to you, the crust or shell which I have just described as being but about 800 miles in thickness is firm and solid on both its convex and concave surface, but gradually loses in weight whether we penetrate from the outer surface toward the center or from any point of the inner surface towards the outside, until at the central sphere matter has no weight at all. Do you conceive my meaning? Yes, I replied, I understand you perfectly. After a pause, my pilot asked me abruptly, what do you most desire? The question caused my mind to revert instantly to my old home on the earth above me, and although I felt the hope of returning to it sprang up in my heart, the force of habit caused me involuntarily to answer, more light. More light being your desire, you shall receive it. Obedient to his touch, the bow of the boat turned from the gulf we had been considering towards the center of the lake. The responsive craft leaped forward, and in an instant the obsidian parapet disappeared behind us. On and over the trackless water, of glass-like water, we sped, until the dead silence became painlessly oppressive, and I asked, whither are we bound? Towards the east. The well-timed answer raised my spirits. I thought again that in this man, despite his repulsive shape, I beheld a friend, a brother. Suspicion vanished, and my courage rose. He touched the lever, and the craft, subject to his will, nearly rose from the water and sped with amazing velocity, as was evident from the appearance of the luminous road behind us. So rapid was our flight that the wake of the boat seemed as if it made of rigid parallel lines that disappeared in a distance too quick for the eye to catch the tremor. Continuing his conversation, my companion informed me that he had now directed the boat toward a point east of the spot where we struck the shore, after crossing the lake, in order that we might continue our journey downward diagonally to the undersurface of the earth crust. This recent digression from our journey proper, said he, has been made to acquaint you with a subject regarding which you have exhibited a curiosity, and about which you have hitherto been misinformed. Now you understand more clearly part of the philosophy of volcanoes and earthquakes. You have yet much to learn in connection with allied phenomena, but this study of the crude exhibition of force-disturbed matter, the manipulation of which is familiar to man under the above names, is an introduction to the more wonderful study destined yet to be a part of your field, an investigation of quiescent matter and pure motion. I cannot comprehend you, I replied, as I stated once before when you referred to what you designated as pure motion.